All right, let's talk 2026 housing forecast. We are starting to see more and more people call out their forecast for 2026. And today we've got Realtor.com. Realtor.com has made several interesting calls that we can talk about. First, on rates, they think that interest rates will average 6.3% in 2026. That feels a little bit high to me. I think there's a very good chance that we go under that. Prices, looks like prices are going to be up 2.2%. This again, folks, always remember it is national. It is not your state, not your city, not your buy box, but national. Median home price, positive 2.2%. Transactions, they think they're going to go up 1.7% to 4.13. I think that's shockingly low. I would have expected Realtor.com to be more aggressive. I think there's every chance that, transactions are up 7-8% next year. So I'll take the under on interest rates and the over on transactions. One thing that they did highlight that I thought was interesting, and I'm happy to see it's being reported more and more, is housing affordability will improve next year. In fact, housing affordability is improving because wage growth is exceeding home growth. What does that mean? Wages the last 29 months have averaged 4% increase, where home prices have been basically flat. So every month that ticks by, housing becomes more affordable. If you are hearing from the doomers that housing affordability is the worst it's ever been today, that is just mathematically false. In fact, housing affordability today is the best it's been in years. So again, facts are facts, and hypocrisy is, left to the clowns who are talking 50% housing crash. And then the last thing that Realtor.com noted that I read in this report was they expect rent growth, again, nationwide, to be negative 1%. Now, why is that important? Well, if that is correct and we have another year of negative rent growth, that means inflation will be 2%. We are only seeing inflation readings of close to 3% because shelter is being misrepresented. We've done the math together lots of times. More on that in a minute. But yes, if we have a year of negative rent growth at negative 1%, inflation will be back to 2%. It's just a mathematical certainty. We did have our school session yesterday with Rob from Rawbuilt talking about short-term rentals and how it works and things to do right and things to do wrong. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I did post the video yesterday at 4:00. Hopefully you enjoyed being on a fly on the wall. Rob, thank you for coming out. Thank you for answering our questions. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's talk about Michael Burry. Michael Burry is being a lot more out there. Michael Burry from the 2008 crash, sort of comes and goes as he wishes, but he's a lot more out there. He's writing a newsletter now. He is actually calling for OpenAI to be this generation's Netscape. Yes, many of you are young enough to not even know what I am talking about. There was a time, folks, when you had to go to Fry's Electronics and buy a disc to download or install Netscape Navigator. It's how we got on the web. And yes, Michael Burry says that OpenAI could go the way of Netscape. That would be interesting. Again, if you don't know OpenAI, I think they charge consumers $20, $20 a month, I think is what they charge. So again, it'd be interesting to see if that just goes free and thus OpenAI goes poof. Mark Zandi's at it again, talking about many Americans are already living on the financial edge in this K-shaped economy and is afraid that job losses will pick up and that will lead to the aforementioned recession, right? We have avoided a recession thus far, but Mark Zandi warns it is on the come up. It is coming. China retail sales growth disappoints. Why is this important? I think it's an indication of what is going on around the world, right? The Chinese economy for the longest time has been very export based. That is declining as other countries ramp up. And they need their consumers to, frankly, spend money. And if you don't know, China's real estate market popped like 5 years ago. And they're still reeling from that as more and more consumers save. They do not spend. So it's interesting to watch that. We got a lot of Fed speak now that the blackout window is open. I've gotten Fed speak from 4 folks, so we'll talk about that. First, Fed President Moran. Again, you have to remember he dissented. He wanted a 50 basis point cut instead of what we got, 25. Some of the things that he noted: market-based core ex-shelter inflation is 2.3%. Going ex-shelter is interesting, and I actually agree it's a worthwhile conversation. Why? Because frankly, shelter inflation is being overreported. It is not accurate. It is flat out wrong. Last reading on shelter inflation was 3.6, and as we talked earlier, rent is negative for the year. So stop talking about it. So in Moran's point, ex-shelter, it's 2.3%. Holding policy too tight will lead to job losses. Faster rate cuts gets us closer to neutral. I think neutral is a very interesting discussion. It's one of those debates that you never really, nobody has the right answer. It's like this magical number. I believe Moran thinks that the neutral rate is a lot closer to 1%. I think it's probably a lot closer to 3%. So again, it's interesting because if you do believe that it's really at 1%, there's a lot more room for cutting. Lastly, Moran says, I expect a faster fall in PCE shelter inflation. So do I. I mean, it's freaking negative. And, we're reporting 3.6. Eventually, the data's got to get right. How about Fed President Daly? Rate cuts put Fed in a place to achieve both goals, which is interesting. If you don't know what both goals are, that is stable, full employment and stable prices. Inflation is too high, but the Fed can't let the job market falter. This, again, is the risk that they are playing today. Fed President Goolsbee, I am not hawkish on rate cuts next year. Fed President Goolsbee, again, one of the dissenters, did not want to cut. He's basically saying, guys, we can cut, but let's wait for the data. Again, you heard me rant last week. The Fed should have simply delayed their meeting. We're getting some jobs data, I think, tomorrow and some inflation readings later in the week. I don't know why they had to go through with the meeting with incomplete data, but hey, it is what it is. Fed President Goolsbee also says, sometimes the Fed has to take the punch bowl away to fight inflation. Interesting. That's a guy that doesn't want to cut rates. Drop in inflation should be detectable in Q1. Again, Austin says he's comfortable with rate cuts. He just wants to wait. Austin also says that we should see a noticeable downtick in inflation in Q1. I wonder if that's because of shelter finally catching up. Lastly, Fed President Hammack, private credit doesn't appear large enough to create systemic risk, to which I say, I hope not. I hope not. Sometimes you just don't say things out loud because you remember last time. But yes, apparently, according to Fed President Hammack, private credit is not big enough for a systemic risk. I prefer policy to be more restrictive than now. Again, somebody who did not want to cut. And the Fed rate is right around neutral today. So according to Fed President Hammack, neutral is about 3.5. I think it's a little bit lower. I don't think it's nearly down at 1%, but hey, this is a debate you can have. There is no right answer. So there we go. We did get one economic number this morning, and it was ugly. The Empire State Manufacturing came in at a negative 3.9. It was forecast to be a 10. Last reading, I think, was 18. So nasty report. We got to see if other regions of the country are reporting similar downturns. Let's talk about our school community real quick, just to give you a flavor of what the community talks about. I just captured the last 5 topics that I saw. One question posed is, why is talking about money taboo? I thought that was an interesting discussion. Lots of forum posts and answers there. Number 2, getting tenants in the winter. Lots of folks around the country, winter is here. If you're in the Northeast, I hear it's freezing. So again, stay warm. Number 3, something I have never had to think about. Cost of snow removal. Never even had to think about that. But yes, it is a thing. We obviously have new member introductions. And finally, we had an accountability group by Jared on Sunday, and he left the notes there. So again, folks, lots and lots of stuff happening in the school community. You want to be around great people building wealth. You want to be going the same direction as 500 plus amazing people. Join school. The link is there on the screen. Again, lots of stuff going on in there. What else we got? We got a couple more points and we'll wrap it up. Oh, Jerome Powell talking about housing. Shout out Lance Lambert from Resi Club, wrote up a great article about how the Fed can't fix housing supply, right? The Fed can tinker with rates, but you can't fix a structural shortage of housing, right? The Fed doesn't produce, lumber and hammers and nails. So again, the Fed can't fix housing. Average consumer estimates for holiday spending. Oh, folks, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below, yes or no. What is your budget for the holidays? And we'll just say gifts, right? Holiday gifts this year. Will you spend more or less than $778 buying gifts? The reason I ask that is, according to the latest holiday spending estimates, that is going to be the household average, $778 on the holidays. Let me know what in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. And then finally, we did get home builder confidence. It actually went up a single point, went off the record low of 38 to 39. 39 is the highest reading since April, right? Which is interesting. New construction opportunities. Again, I think we have about 9 months. I think a lot of builders have gotten off the pace over profit. They're going to start building slowly, which will lead to layoffs in the construction space, no doubt, unless rates fall. That's always that caveat. Rates go sub 6, housing will pick back up. But again, if you're looking to get an opportunity with the builder, I think you've got 6, 9, maybe 12 months. But yes, I don't expect those opportunities to last forever. A couple more finer points about confidence. Sales expectations. Sales expectations were up 1 point. And finally, current sales conditions were up a single point. So again, builders are starting to feel a little bit better. Probably makes sense. Rates are down. Rates are near the year low. So it makes sense. Hopefully you guys have an amazing day. Don't forget to check out Steadily. They are once again helping me on a house. I sent them a house, I think last week or the week before. We finally gotten through all the conditions. We had to take some pictures of the roof. And looks like we're going to close another policy with Steadily, saving me over $1,000 this time. Farmers kicked me out, moved me to Foremost. Foremost almost doubled my insurance. And then I went out to Steadily and they whacked about $1,000 off. So happy. All right, folks, take care of yourself. Link in the description. Join school. Back tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. live. Have a great day. Bye.